Hello kind people of YouTube and welcome back to another video. After the year started pretty slow, we have finally kicked into high gear as far as our news coverage is concerned again, with a bunch of things happening every single day. So let's talk about a few select stories right now. First up, Ethereum's Constantinople upgrade is delayed yet again due to a major security vulnerability that was just found the other day. Ethereum's long-anticipated Constantinople upgrade has just been delayed after a critical vulnerability was discovered in one of the planned changes. Smart contract audit firm Chain Security flagged Tuesday that Ethereum Improvement Proposal 1283, if implemented, could provide attackers a loophole in the code to steal user funds. Speaking on a call, Ethereum developers as well as developers of clients and other projects running the network agreed to delay the hard fork at least temporarily while they assessed the issue. Participants included Ethereum creator Vitalik Buterin, developers Hudson Jameson, Nick Johnson and Evan Van Ness, and parity release manager Afri Shoden, among others. A new fork date will be decided during another Ethereum dev call on Friday. Discussing the vulnerability online, the project's core developers reached the conclusion that it would take too long to fix the bug prior to the hard fork, which was expected to execute at around 4 UTC on January 17th. So they really caught this just in time. Called a re-entrancy attack, the vulnerability essentially allows a user to re-enter the same function multiple times without updating the user about the state of affairs. Under this scenario, an attacker could essentially be withdrawing funds forever, said Johannes Espanyol, probably mispronounced, sorry, CTO of blockchain analytics firm Amber Data in a previous interview with CoinDesk. Excuse me. He explained, "Imagine that my contract has a function which makes a call to another contract. If I'm a hacker and I'm able to trigger functions and while the previous function was still executing, I might be able to withdraw funds." So, for instance, just imagine someone is putting in a transaction and they're trying to send a certain amount of money to a certain person. Before that has been fully executed, they would essentially be able to execute it multiple times without anyone noticing, send money multiple times, and essentially steal money that way. This is similar to one of the vulnerabilities found in the now infamous DAO attack of 2016. Chain Security's post explained that prior to Constantinople, storage operations on the network would cost 5,000 gas, exceeding the 2,300 gas usually sent when calling a contract using transfer or send functions. However, if the upgrade was implemented, dirty storage options would cost 200 gas. An attacker contract can use the 2,300 gas stipend to manipulate the vulnerable contract's variable successfully. Constantinople was previously expected to activate last year, but was delayed after issues were found while launching the upgrades on the Dopson testnet. If you remember, when they tried to launch it on Dopson, it just wouldn't start at all. There was some kind of major issue that they found then, and they took care of it. They took care of that issue, but it was pushed back significantly as a result. I believe it was pushed back almost 2 months. I think it was supposed to happen in late November initially, but I might be off with that timing there. But it was pushed back significantly, and back then I applauded them for dealing with these issues effectively and really ironing out all the tech issues before they went live. But I was critical of how long it took them to announce new dates and that they kept waiting for the already scheduled calls to deal with this stuff instead of doing emergency calls. And this is a similar situation where they did do an emergency call to halt the upgrade, to halt the hard fork, but where everything else will be discussed in their regular call on Friday, which I think if you're dealing with such a massive piece of software that people have billions invested in, you should be dealing with these things faster. Even if not everyone involved in the team has an opportunity to be on the call, most of these things should probably be decided in an extra one and not in the already regularly scheduled one, but that is just my opinion, because I think you have a kind of responsibility to all the people who are invested in Ethereum. But as long as they ultimately get around to fixing these issues, and as long as Constantinople is reasonably safe when it does go live, they have done their job here. It's just, it's sad to see yet another delay. Ethereum has been hit with so many delays for all the upgrades it has tried to carry out. A lot of things that we thought we would have years ago are finally coming to fruition now, and we're still getting delays, and it's just a shame. Which isn't to say that Ethereum isn't a fantastic project, or that the people working on it aren't great coders and developers. Just that as someone who has been watching from the sidelines, who has been invested for a long time, I'm just so used to delays at this point. Move over Coinbase. Binance now has a fiat exchange. Now, most notably, this one is not targeting America, so they're not in direct competition with Coinbase here, but it's still notable. Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by adjusted trading volume, has launched a new fiat-to-crypto exchange on the island of Jersey, a British self-governing dependency. Through the new exchange, which is targeting traders in Europe and the UK, users will be able to trade Bitcoin and Ethereum against the British pound and the euro. Binance selected Jersey for its highly developed digital infrastructure, robust regulatory framework, and world-class financial services sector. The exchange's chief financial officer, Wei Zhao, probably mispronounced that, sorry, told Coindesk. This is, of course, utterly ridiculous. We all know when you choose an island like that, it's because that's where you have to pay very low taxes and where you're unlikely to run into regulatory issues, not because they have a highly developed digital infrastructure or world-class financial services sector. Jersey is essentially, it's not quite a tax haven, but it's in a similar kind. It has very a very open legal structure where it allows you to do a lot, where it allows you to pay lower taxes, where it allows you to do more things less regulated than in some other countries. Honestly, the only part of this that is likely to be true is robust regulatory framework. The rest of this quote is marketing speak. He further clarified that Binance Jersey is an independent entity from its parent Binance.com, a crypto-to-crypto exchange, but is built using the same technology. More reason to believe they are going there for tax reasons and legal. Binance Jersey is hiring and will continue to hire staff for different functions, including compliance, Wei said. The exchange has been working with government-backed economic development agency Digital Jersey to develop the exchange, with the aim being to create around 40 jobs on the island. Binance first partnered with the agency in June of 2018. Changpeng Zhao, Binance CEO, has said at the time, with its local economy based on a major currency, the British pound, and its close proximity to the UK and Western Europe, we are confident that cooperation with Jersey will not only benefit the local economy, but also form a strong operational foundation for our expansion into the rest of Europe. Excuse me, I'm still not completely over my cold. Ultimately, what we have here is one of the biggest exchanges in the world, and if I may say so, probably the most well-run one and most logical one out of the major ones. Starting a second exchange, a fiat exchange targeting Europe in particular, fiat trading pairs with the pound and with the euro, most notably no US dollars in sight. This is a major shift in targeting for crypto exchanges, and I think we will see a lot more exchanges targeting Europe in particular in the future, especially with the world financial center moving away from being the United States, especially under Trump. We will probably see more of this in the future. We will see more directed at Asia and more directed at Europe, and less of an America-centrism. Next up, we have someone throwing around the idea of XRP being used for domestic payments rather than just cross-border transactions. Uphold CEO JP Fierio, probably mispronounced that, spoke on Thinking Crypto about how the traditional financial system in the US is lagging behind in terms of cross-border payments and how Ripple and XRP could change the scenario altogether. Fierio said that they are launching a new product, Earn and Borrow, and that the updates related to this will be coming out next week. He continued. And then another common thing that I find sort of interesting is one around how slow it is for people to do an ACH transaction from their US bank account into Uphold, where you know very annoyingly it can take up to 8 or 9 days, and it has to do with the deficiency of the US ACH system, which is not nearly as efficient, for instance, as the European equivalent SEPA. If you don't know what ACH is, that is the system, the electronic system being used for transfers within the United States. So essentially, if you do an online banking transfer, it is running through this system. Furthermore, Fierio said that the XRP constituents who are familiar with these problems suggested Uphold use Ripple's XRP technology, which is better than traditional payment systems and provides a near-instant settlement. He said that they have contemplated the use of XRapid for cross-border payments, which is the nature and purpose of XRapid. You gotta keep in mind here, XRapid was not designed for domestic transactions. XRapid was specifically designed for transactions that are going from one currency to another, and by cutting out going through other fiat currencies and instead going through XRP, it can save a lot of time and a lot of money and be a lot more secure. In addition, he said that the problem arose when it came to payment transfers within the US using the ACH system. He continued, "One could conceive of XRP being used in the same way it's used in XRapid to fix an inefficiency with the legacy banking system that XRP could theoretically be used in a domestic context as well." The CEO added that they could use XRP in a domestic context as well, but that would require a deal between Uphold and Ripple to be inked, which would provide Uphold the liquidity that would otherwise be provided in case of XRapid use for cross-border payments. Once again, keep in mind here, with the use of XRapid, liquidity is established by exchanges, and I believe typically by XRapid partners also holding a certain amount of XRP. He also acknowledged how the XRP community, which is sometimes also an XRP army, could help them do a deal with Ripple that would allow them to provide Uphold users instant transfers using the ACH system. XRP Trump, aka Dr. T, one of the prominent members in the Twitter XRP Ripple community, tagged Wally, a business development executive at Ripple, and asked if he could share his thoughts. Wally replied, "Solving for delays for all of federal ACH, which is practically ubiquitous in the US, is tough. If Uphold is experiencing friction, I would start by trying to make it easier to move money to and from another wallet network that also already supports XRP and US dollars." So ultimately, there's of course no real news here, but it's interesting to see this idea publicly thrown around that XRP could be used for domestic transfers as well. Now, I think we will first see it adopted progressively more in cross-border transactions, because there is simply more of a need for it there. Domestic transfers also take way longer and cost way more than they should with the technology we have available to us today. But they're not nearly as crazy and as overpriced and as inefficient yet as international transfers, so it makes sense that Ripple would be aiming for cross-border transactions first. There you have the unique additional benefit of being able to use a cryptocurrency for liquidity as an intermediary instead of fiat currencies, meaning you cut out awkward situations where you have to go through 2 or 3 different currencies to even get to the one you need, where you have to go through a million banks and where it will take weeks and cost a lot of money. Domestically, you have similar issues, but you don't have to deal with intermediary currencies, so one of the major selling points of XRapid disappears there. But still, this is an interesting idea that I'm almost certain will be implemented in some manner in the future. I just do not think that it is Ripple's priority at all right now, and neither should it be. And last but not least, there was yet another alleged hack, with some people theorizing that this might be another exit scam instead, but I don't think the reasoning for that is very strong yet. Let's read the article. New Zealand digital assets exchange CryptoPia has suspended services after detecting a major hack that has reportedly resulted in significant losses, according to a tweet posted today, well, actually yesterday. The exchange revealed in the tweet that the hack occurred on January the 14th. The platform had initially informed the public it was undergoing unscheduled maintenance, issuing several similarly laconic updates before today's official disclosure of the breach. According to today's tweet, the exchange has notified government agencies and authorities, including the New Zealand Police and High-Tech Crimes Unit, who have reportedly opened an investigation into the matter and are allegedly treating the incident as a major crime. CryptoPia, whose total daily trade volumes are currently not disclosed on CoinMarketCap, lists over 800 crypto assets with support of trading pairs that include a range of small-scale crypto assets. News of the incident has been met with concern and some skepticism in the crypto community. Industry Twitter personality Whale Panda commented on the hack, which he notably placed in quotation marks, stating in a tweet, "Interesting that this happens in a bear season where small exchanges are struggling to make ends meet and are aggressively messaging anyone involved with crypto projects to get them to pay listing fees to get listed on their platform." Before I continue, I just want to point out that I don't think this argument holds up in any way. He's trying to imply here that this happening during a bear season is evidence for this possibly being an exit scam instead of a legitimate hack. But my counter to that is, why would hackers not hack in bear seasons? Seriously. There's no reason. This argument, under the closest scrutiny, means nothing. This is buzzwords. Let's continue. In response to Whale Panda's tweet, a couple of commentators have gone so far as to investigate CryptoPia's recent transactions, claiming the exchange had moved Ethereum worth several millions of dollars out of its wallet yesterday, citing data from crypto exchange blockchain monitor Whale Alert on January 13th. This is a much more compelling argument, but as it currently stands, there could be a million reasons this has happened, and I also have not personally verified this information, so this might not even be what they claim it to be. In a spate of accusatory remarks on the apparent coincidence, other commentators volunteered allegations that the security breach could be an exit scam and allegedly pre-planned. None of these claims have been corroborated to press time. Rand Neuner, the host of CNBC's Crypto Trader show, has also tweeted his response, questioning whether the apparent breach was due to negligent storage practices and whether the exchange would be able to refund users given their small size and the protracted cryptocurrency bear market. As previously reported, CryptoPia raised concern amongst users last summer after it began a planned maintenance window early, citing unexpected issues that required further investigation. The move prompted user reports of withdrawal difficulties even after the maintenance had allegedly been completed. So I'm just going to tell you what I think is going on here. I think this was almost certainly a hack. Because why would it not be? Now, it is absolutely possible for someone to run an exit scam and to pretend that they were being hacked. But the way I look at it, you don't personally contact the police and your country's high-tech crimes unit if you ran off with all the money. Almost certainly they would be able to catch that very quickly once they start taking a closer look. So I do not believe we have any strong evidence to imply that this is an exit scam right now, which isn't to say that they haven't happened before. They absolutely have, but I find very little reason to believe that this was one. What I think it is, instead, is that their security was not up to the standard it should have been. We are getting consistent news about the security level at major exchanges not being up to the level one would expect it to be, not being appropriate, and this seems to be one of them, especially as this is a smaller exchange that makes a lot of its money by providing access to a lot of tiny little altcoins, a lot of, excuse my language here, shitcoins, that you can't really buy in a lot of other places. These small exchanges usually don't have the type of funding behind them that major ones have to have the same level of security. And with previous issues that raised concern, as it says here, around unexpected issues, withdrawal difficulties, and maintenance windows that started early, I think there's very good reason to believe here that they were simply an easy target. Their tech team might not have been as good as they thought it was. Their security team might not have been as good. They might not have secured their funding and the user assets as well as they should have. And with this investigation going on from the police, from that special unit, I'm sure we will find out what exactly is going on here. Probably not in the coming weeks, because these things take time, especially once the government is involved. But sooner or later, we will have the truth of the situation. And like I said, I believe there's very little reason to believe that this is an exit scam right now. I think a lot of people in the crypto community are a bit paranoid, and some paranoia is good, especially if you're dealing with a lot of money and if you're dealing with trusting people with your money. But everything is instantly some kind of conspiracy. And while there are absolutely some real life conspiracies, every now and then a conspiracy does happen. Most of the times something is not a conspiracy and there's a much easier explanation. And the easier explanation here, rather than them having planned to run off with all the money all along and faking a hack and then going to the police to investigate their faked hack, which is just all kinds of dangerous, I think it is much more likely that this is a hack and that people are just being a bit paranoid again and expecting the worst. I mean, a hack is also terrible, but expecting the worst from this exchange. If it's a hack, they were negligent, they were not malicious. That is a big difference in my opinion. Both are dangerous, but one is evil. And with that, I'm going to end this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. All the links to the articles in the description, as well as ways to support the channel. If you like my content, I would really appreciate if you could just leave a like and a comment, especially in this bear market. It is very hard for crypto channels to be noticed, to be discovered, to grow, and any like and comment helps me get pushed out more by the YouTube algorithms. So if you enjoy my content, I would really appreciate if you could take those 10 seconds to just leave a like, leave a comment. I'll be back with you guys with another video tomorrow.